and today marks 6 months since the start of the LA wildfires. Homes and businesses burned and dozens of lives were lost in the wind-fueled flames. And this morning we are taking a look back, but also looking forward as Altadena and Pacific Palisades begin the long rebuilding process.
Yeah, so all morning long are Jamie Ucas and Amanda Sarantino. They will be bringing you stories of loss, but also hope. Let's start with Jamie in the Palisades. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning, Chris and Kalina. I can tell you I've been covering natural disasters for more than 20 years, and 6 months is a huge turning point for people psychologically, especially as you talk about looking to the future and having that hope, because a lot of people can get stuck in the process of not being able to move forward. You can see there's a lot, though, cleared right over my shoulder there. Those people about ready to embark on rebuilding their home. And if you look in the distance, rebuilding happening, that frame up, as you can see down as we have this view of the Palisades. But it is remarkable how it can be just a patchwork of who's been able to get started and who hasn't. We're going to talk to the homeowner here who has not been able to come back into his home. But now I want to turn it over to Amanda Sarantino at the Eaton Fire Zone. Amanda.
Good morning. So much loss and heartbreak here in this community, and what we saw 6 months ago where these communities were just completely destroyed. You look around me here on Grandeur. This is actually in Janes Village, a historically black community. So much history here. This community in particular was about to celebrate 100 years of having this neighborhood here 1 week after the fire burned through. And you can see so many lots now completely gone. But coming up, we're going to have some stories of hope from a family who lost 5 homes in this area. Her mom has been here since the 60s. Her grandmother has been here even sooner. So lots of stories and hope as we move forward and rebuild. Back to you guys.
Yeah, a lot of stories that we're all looking forward to hearing. Okay, Amanda and Jamie, we'll see you in just a few.
And again, today marks 6 months since the Palisades fire broke out, forcing thousands to evacuate their community.
Yeah, so the fire destroyed thousands of homes and buildings and damaged many more that remain unlivable. Let's go back out to KCAL News anchor Jamie Ucas in the Palisades. And Jamie, you're with someone who's still waiting to return to his surviving home.
That's right. I'm with Kevin Mines, who we're standing on your deck right now. You were able to save this place. What does that feel like?
Well, we were lucky. Things went our way that night. It was a long night, but I had help. My buddy Yuri showed up, and you know, we're here today with us still have a house. Unlike a lot of my neighbors who have lost theirs.
I know, we saw across the street, we can see there's some other neighbors just down the road that have lost their homes, but you've had such a struggle over the 6 months of, you haven't been living here. No,
we haven't. It's taken a while. We've been working with the insurance company to try to get some, money. My carrier is USAA.
Which is a great carrier.
They're typically a very good carrier. I just had trouble getting the insurance adjuster to answer my phone. That's all.
And that's, a lot of people are in that spot.
Right.
What is it like for you to be able to see some of your neighbors have frames back up and be able to look at this view and see that your community will be coming back?
There's hope. Hopefully we'll get this thing going and get the town back. That's all that any of us really want.
This community is something so special and important to you. Your father bought this place in 1968.
Yep, in 68, and he had the place built in 72. I cleaned up the job site after school. I love this town. My mother lived here till she died. Andrea and I got married here. We raised our son here. I'm gonna die here.
Oh, you're gonna die here. That's how you feel.
That's how I feel.
So you're fighting to get back into this space.
I want to be back in my home.
What do you miss the most?
Just the space, just being able to just walk around and enjoy the house that my father designed and built, and the community. I'm going to miss that. That's going to be hard because it's going to take some time to build back the town.
In some ways, it's been 6 months. Does it feel like it was yesterday in some ways when you walk up here?
I still think about that night. It was a long night, and I think about it all the time.
To be back up here, I think the thing that's striking to me, vegetation's coming back. The hummingbirds have been next door. Does that give you some relief and hope?
It just means that I have a lot of weeding to do when we move back in.
But you're looking forward to those types of things.
I actually am. That's kind of scary right there, isn't
It's
it?
those small things, isn't it? When you talk about community and being a homeowner inside a community, it's the small things that matter.
Yes. No, I'm class of '79 Pali High. My son is class of '22. You know, we're Palisadians to the core, and this is our town. And I really want to bring it back. I think if our town comes together, and there's a lot of smart, people here. I think if we work together, we can come up with a great town. It could be best town in the country.
Well, I think a lot of people feel that way. So there's the hope and the optimism that we have at the 6-month mark now. And now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Amanda Sarantino, who's in the Eaton Fire zone. Amanda.
Good morning, Jamie. So very quiet here, much different situation than we saw 6 months ago on this day. And it's incredible to see just how much this community has moved forward. And one of those families within this community is Ishelle Williams. Your family has been through so much. This neighborhood in particular in Altadena, Jane's Village, means so much to you. It's a historically Black community. Your family has been here for decades now. Yeah. What does Jane's Village mean to you?
I think just the community as a whole, inclusive of Jane's Village, has been our safe haven, right? So this home where you're 20 minutes away from everything that's happening in LA, but you get to come home to a neighborhood and, a small community where everybody knew everybody and supported one another.
And your family was literally here. So we're standing in what was her backyard. She said lots of family memories here, barbecues, parties, just her life happened here like so many people in Altadena, Pasadena, in these communities that lost so much. So let's walk forward and tell me a little bit about your journey the last couple of months, because your process is a little different than your family's because they all own their properties. However, you rented this property. So what has it been like for you to try to come back here?
I rented for 17 years, and initially there was no promise of coming back. So it was just go find a new place to live. So as I did that and was given the opportunity to purchase the land, I did that along with Neighborhood Housing Services. So they purchased the land on my behalf. Wow. And I'll come back. So,
which is really great, because for a lot of renters, what we were talking about is, your family gets to say, hey, we get to come back and rebuild. You were told, just go find somewhere else to live. Well, but now this is your somewhere else.
This is a somewhere else. So not even told. It was understanding that, when you don't have a place to live, you just have to do what comes next. And that was what came next, was to, rent a condo and think about and really grieve being here. And now it's to celebrate being back here.
So what does your timeline look like at this point? Because we saw the Army Corps of Engineers came through. Your lot has been cleared. What's next?
Working with an engineer and identifying who that person is, identifying an architect, but most of all working with Neighborhood Housing Services so that they can walk me through that process. There's a lot of families that have no idea, just like me, and I don't have the time to learn what I need to know. So just being stewarded through that process.
And you're going to be back here with your family. Ishelle's story is just one of so many, and we love to see it. And someone that really helped you was Supervisor Catherine Barger. And, they were just telling me, we're going to walk over to her. You can see the rest of her neighborhood. Most of her neighbors are gone at this point. They went to the nail salon together. So that's just how this community is. These community members are so interlocked with the people that are the change makers in their community. And one of them is right here. So Supervisor, you've been here every step of the way with this community. It's meant so much to you. Your heart's in it. I could hear your conversation with Ishelle earlier.
Amazing woman.
Yeah, what does this community mean to you?
For me, it means truly from the heart. I mean, I have friends who have lost their homes, and so it is personal. So the next 3 years, my last term, I'm laser focused on supporting this community and the rebuild efforts.
The rebuild efforts, it's incredible to see where we've come in 6 months. The fact that we are at this point, it's been difficult, though, at the same time for a lot of these people. We have people that are underinsured and also a lot of red tape to get here. How have you been assisting people through this process?
Well, the red tape is going to be gone. I mean, and I've said that. I've told the departments that are involved with permitting that if we don't get it to 30 days, I want to move people out and put people in there who understand that these are survivors who need a path forward. And I've been very successful. We're down to 49 days, but that's still unacceptable. So we're going to get rid of the red tape. We're going to support my constituents, the survivors who want a fiscal path moving forward, looking at nonprofits, looking at working with the federal government to get low-interest loans. It's an all-hands-on deck. So this is, 6 months. We've got the Army Corps almost done, but by no means are we done.
And so many families are still dealing with just insurance problems. We hear so many stories about just battling State Farm back and forth. We have the FAIR Plan that has its own set of issues. How can people get through these problems? Because it really seems like they're just hitting a roadblock.
Well, I ran into a woman on 4th of July who has FAIR Plan, and her premium went up, and they told her she had to pay before she could get any financial support. Absolutely unacceptable. I have never experienced the kind of complaints I've gotten since this fire, but it's all insurance. People that are underinsured, it's almost like the insurance companies are beating them into submission, and they're grateful to get whatever they get. That's not what the insurance is supposed to be set up to do. So moving forward, once we get a little stability here, I am going to be taking on the insurance industry, because I truly do believe, first of all, the FAIR Plan is anything but fair. But other insurance companies need to be held accountable. And the people that lost their homes are only one part of the puzzle. You have people that didn't lose their homes that are saying they're making their lives difficult.
Yeah. They can't get back into their houses.
They can't get back into their houses, and the insurance companies are not honoring their policies. So there is no question. I've talked to the insurance commissioner, Commissioner Lara, and he understands. But we need to hold them accountable and recognize that we are the customers.
Okay, and we have a little bit of time left, but I want to know, when it comes to Altadena, people want the community to stay Altadena. It's so special, its charm, its history, and then specifically Jane's Village and what this community holds, historically Black community. What kind of promise can you make today to this community that Altadena will remain Altadena?
It's going to be a bottoms-up approach. I take pride in the fact that that's my style anyway, and the community is going to have a voice, and the voice is going to be about what Altadena looks like. But we got to build better, and we got to build resiliency into the plan, because we want this to never happen again. But I promise you this, and anyone that knows me knows that it's going to be a bottom-up approach. The community of Altadena will have a voice, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. This community before the fire was very vocal and outspoken, but had many different constituencies that had an opinion, and that's not going to change after the fire. But I'm going to make sure that we build in a way that reflects the charm and beauty of this incredible community.
Absolutely. Supervisor Catherine Barger, thank you for your time and everything you're doing. This community, we know it's going to come back stronger, better than ever, but also be just the beautiful place it once was for so many people. We have so many great interviews coming up throughout the morning on KCAL News, but for now, I'll send it back to you guys.
Amanda, thank you. So many people at different points of the rebuilding process, staying strong, staying positive, and being so resilient. So thank you, and looking forward to more of those interviews, Amanda.
Well, the most destructive wildfires in LA history started 6 months ago today. 30 people died, more than 16,000 homes and businesses destroyed. So what's the recovery status half a year later?
Our Amanda Sarantino is live in Altadena with how businesses are rebuilding, and our Jamie Ucas is live in the Pacific Palisades with a look at the debris cleanup and the burned lots that are now for sale.
Yeah, a lot can change in 6 months, right? I want you to take a look at this. I'm standing on someone's driveway. Their lot has now been cleared, which is a recent development. And so they're excited to get back into that rebuilding process. And just beyond that, you can see the hillside that had been completely burned out and now has vegetation coming back. That is giving people hope that the process is moving forward, but there still are a lot of questions as to how fast things are moving here. And so we'll be talking with Supervisor Lindsay Horvath in just a few minutes. But first, we wanted to go over to Amanda Sarantino to talk about those businesses and the impact at the Eaton Fire Zone. Amanda.
Good morning. Well, we know thousands of homes and businesses completely destroyed here in Altadena. I mean, just look around me. There's no homes left right here on the street. And these are people's lives, their families, their memories, just gone with all of this. But what we're seeing is resilience and how strong people are of coming back home and making sure that they're going to be back on their properties here. And, the stories we've already heard, we just talked to Supervisor Catherine Barger, and just about the red tape people are dealing with, the underinsured, and then also people who have insurance to get what they rightfully really deserve. 6 months later, people are still battling everything that they've been dealing with and becoming victims to these insurance companies at this point after they survived this incredible fire that tore through California. So we're going to have a lot more stories of hope and how people can get through this red tape, what resources are available to them, and how they can get back home. Back to you guys.
There's still so much ahead for so many people, but they have that community and they do have that hope too. Amanda, thank you.
And back to rebuilding SoCal. As we reach the 6-month milestone since the Palisades fire broke out, there is visible progress happening in that community.
The area has been transitioning from a disaster zone to a construction site as more properties have been cleared of debris. I want to get to our Jamie Ucas joining us live there with a look at how the rebuilding process has been moving forward. Jamie, good morning.
Morning, Kalina and Chris. I'm standing with Supervisor Lindsay Horvath. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Of course.
You know, I was here just a few days after the fire here in the Palisades. I came back 3 months later. So many construction trucks and workers. And now 3 months past that, we have lots cleared. There is some hope here in the Palisades.
Yes, we have about 80% of the lots in the Palisades have been cleared. So we're really glad about that. We have led the fastest debris removal in history in partnership with the federal government and those at the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in particular, but working from local, state, federal, across the board, bringing people together is really what has allowed us to move. And I think that's not only important for the rebuild process that has to follow, it's important for people's spirits.
Yes.
People want to know that we're making progress on helping them get back home, not just into their individual homes, but building community centers and places of worship and having your grocery and your schools. You know, all of those things help you feel like you're at home.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're trying to do, help people see that vision for themselves.
I feel like especially here in the Palisades, this was such a special community as you talk about places of worship and just shopping centers and restaurants and the bus. Even if you didn't live here, you knew that the Palisades was a very special place. And so many people are worried that it is not going to come back in the same way. How can you relieve some of those fears? And what are you seeing as some of the biggest problems right now in trying to get that community and homeowners back into their homes?
Well, I don't want to say that it was special because it still is special.
Okay,
and I see,
fair enough.
I see that in the people who are from the Palisades, who are, you know, excited to come back home, who want to know, just as you've said, that we're going to stay with them. And we are in this for the long haul, for whatever it takes, and making sure that people don't feel alone every step of the way. People who moved to the Palisades, many of them didn't build their homes. So going through this process of rebuild is entirely new territory in many ways, which is why we commissioned a Blue Ribbon Commission to take a look at, you know, what does a resilient and fire-safe recovery look like? What are those different components that we can leverage in terms of expertise from throughout the country to bring the brightest together to help make sure that people have the resources and support they need to rebuild and to support their families while they're doing so.
Well, and I want to talk to you about this because the news cycle moves so quickly. We're already now talking about this horrible, horrific flooding situation in Texas. So many lives lost. We've had lives lost here. You've talked a lot about climate change and how the rebuilding process really does need to take that into account.
Yes, this is our new normal. And so we need to make sure that we aren't just building back what was here. I know that sounds like the fastest thing to do, but the best thing that we can do is take this unique opportunity to rebuild from ground level in the smartest way possible, making sure we're looking at the infrastructure choices we're making, making sure we're helping individual homeowners do all of the best home hardening practices and fire hardening practices that protect their homes. God forbid there's another fire in this area, though we do know because of the state maps that have been issued, this will continue to be an area that's at risk. So we can't just have what was here before. We need to think about our future and making sure that we're investing in all of the best practices that 21st century technology affords us.
When we talk about the rebuilding process, I think Angelinos are exhausted. We've now seen these ice raids happen across the area. How is that impacting the rebuilding process here in places like the Palisades?
We've had this natural disaster and now the man-made disaster of these ice raids, and it's awful because now people are scared to come to work, even if they are here with all kinds of documentation to show for it. They're still afraid to come to work because we see that the raids are indiscriminate about who's on the streets. It's about instilling fear in our communities. We've already been through so much, and so what Los Angeles needs is support. What we need is investment in this recovery process and commitment to bringing us together. We don't need any more division. We don't need people feeling like they're pulled in all kinds of different directions and, you know, just being asked to do the impossible in a situation like this. So, you know, we are really focused on making sure that we're helping those who are at risk, but those who, as well as those who have been impacted by the fires, you know, whether it's investment from our Office of Immigrant Affairs to our investment from all different kinds of county departments in the recovery process. There's a lot Los Angeles County is leading on to make sure that we're supporting our communities at every level, and we'll continue to do so to make sure our residents know they're not alone.
Very quickly, are you seeing delays because of the raids?
We are seeing people not come to work, and we've heard from contractors that that's incredibly challenging for them. You know, we are helping them sort of stagger how they are working on all of these properties, and so if your crew doesn't show up, you can't keep to that schedule. So we want to make sure that, you know, our contractors, everybody who's helping as part of this rebuild process, you know, brings everybody in. So
Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We appreciate it. Chris and Kalina, back to you.
Yeah, some great insight there, and I love how she talks about rebuilding smarter and making sure that it's available to everyone, regardless of what your background is. So thank you so much for that, Jamie.
I want to get back to the rebuilding process. The Palisades and Eaton Fires, they ripped through 2 communities, destroying more than 16,000 homes and businesses.
Yeah, for some small business owners, that daily struggle continues 6 months later. Let's go back out to KCAL News reporter Amanda Sarantino. She's live in Altadena with some of the challenges that business owners there face. Amanda.
The challenges are real for so many people because a lot of these business owners, remember, they lived in this community. So you can imagine how difficult it is. A lot of them have lost their homes and their businesses, or just trying to balance just getting back into their communities. I mean, just look at this one home right here. We've been talking to Michelle Williams. She was renting this property. Now she has found a way to purchase it after losing so much. So this right here is a story of hope. And then you guys, look at this. Everything is burned around here, but the grapes are now growing. These are Muscat grapes coming back to life here. We've seen a lot of flowers coming back too in these communities. So these little glimmers of hope are a little bit of light for these communities that have lost so much since the Eaton fire tore through right here in Altadena. And if you just look behind me, it's home after home after home. And I can remember being here 6 months ago to this day and just seeing the terror that was brought here and the heartbreak for so many families, as this time in the morning, this is when people were coming back and seeing what was happening to their communities, which is just absolutely devastating. So we've been hearing the term Altadena Strong. We also heard Palisades Strong as well. But Altadena Strong is a term that this community has been using that has shown the power and the resilience of these communities coming back. And it's been that message that has helped these people move forward. But for businesses in this community, it's shown that it's been very difficult. For some, they've been able to get back on their feet. For others, it's been a little bit harder. Rick Montanez has their story.
For so many of us, that first cup of coffee is the only way to get the day started.
How's your day going?
Kevin Mejia is back to helping with that morning routine.
It's allowed us to be able to give people some sense of like normal. You know, they can come and get a cup of coffee and hang out on the patio and just like commune.
Bevel Coffee operates as a semi-permanent pop-up on the patio at Prime Pizza in Altadena. Mejia says they were forced to shut down for 2 months after the Eaton fire, which nearly forced him out of business. He is one of more than 250 restaurant owners in LA County to receive a $10,000 LA Fire Recovery Grant from the California Restaurant Association.
Your iced latte, sir?
That's been a big help for him and other owners to keep serving their loyal customers.
It's bittersweet, right? Like there's so many of our friends and so many of our regulars have lost so much. And you know, it's still hard to hear those stories every day, but it's also brought a lot of people to us.
Not only sharing coffee, but sharing in recovery from one of the worst disasters most around here have ever experienced.
While some business owners are seeing positive change already, others are still struggling, faced daily with all this community lost in that firestorm.
A sign in the window at Lucy's place reminding people they're open. Inside, Juan Orozco, who opened Lucy's place in Altadena nearly 30 years ago. We stopped into a nearly empty dining room during the lunch hour. Orozco says he's down 80% of his usual business before the fire.
I don't know how it's going to describe from there to now.
He still shows up every day, working to keep his business alive, hoping Altadena rebuilds and thrives.
I want to cry. It's bad, and I don't know how else. We just keeping the business because maybe we say when we start to building again a house, maybe we'll have some business again.
He wears an Altadena strong hat, but admits even after 6 months, it's difficult to feel that strength.
It's emotional.
A man who believes in his community.
It's hard,
but worries about its future. Tales of survival after the fire with business owners sitting in various points of recovery, vowing, though, to keep pushing their community toward growth.
We can't really imagine leaving the community.
A community encouraging each other to be strong in their recovery. In Altadena, Rick Montanez, KCAL News.
And you can see just how different people within this community are all finding their different pathway to get through the red tape and find a way to survive and still stay here in their community that they all love so much. And there's so many organizations and resources out there that people can utilize to get there. However, we do know that path can be very difficult. Kalina, Chris?
Amanda, I remember you mentioning just now, you were reporting there on that first day, but I remember that day because you had to notify your friends about a home that you spent your childhood in. Can you talk about their recovery process, how they've been since that day?
Yeah, Kalina, that morning, that house is about 5 miles away from here in the Pasadena area, and it was just one of those stories of heartbreak that so many people experienced, and walking past that and seeing her house up in flames, where I know not only my memories, but their family and what that property meant to them meant. The Army Corps of Engineers has come through about 3 months ago. That moment for her was extremely difficult. It was a step forward, but it also just was hard to see it kind of washed to a blank slate. But they have a lot of hope. They're rebuilding this home that their father purchased more than 30 years ago. They're rebuilding it in his honor. They lost him a few years ago, and they're creating their dream home. So they're also experiencing that hope and resilience as they move forward. But also for them, it's been extremely difficult, and that's what a lot of families are experiencing here. So as long as people have those access to those resources, and the biggest thing is the support, not only from their family and friends, but from their community and our change makers here, the legislators, the supervisors, that is what is going to make the difference so these families can return home.
Absolutely. Amanda, thank you. But we also have our Jamie Ucas out of the studio today in the Pacific Palisades, along with our Amanda Sarantino, who is in the Eaton Fire Zone.
Yeah, and Jamie, as we've been talking about all morning, today marks a milestone after these wildfires. You've got a lot of people you're talking to later on, so what can we expect this morning?
Well, I'm standing at Kevin Mine's home, and from the outside you can see he put up quite the firefight. The exterior is intact, the home is still standing, but when you go to walk inside, I want to show you, it is uninhabitable right now, and he's dealing with his insurance company, a lot of red tape to try to get back inside this beautiful property that's been in his family since 1968. So we're going to talk to him and also talk to the person who just happened to stop by and help him in the firefight to at least keep the outside intact. Now let's go to Amanda Sarantino in the Eaton Fire Zone with what they're dealing with there.
Good morning, Jamie. I mean, this time 6 months ago, these homes were all still standing here. And if you just take a look around, there's nothing left here in Altadena. What we're seeing a lot of what's left of people's homes is just small pieces. We have these gates to what was their home that was standing here. This is the Williams family home, and they do want to rebuild. The family lost 4 of their homes, all within blocks of each other right here. But the big message we're seeing from people in Altadena, it's not for sale, because these people do want to come home. So we're going to have their stories of resilience, how they're going to make it happen, how they're going to get their homes rebuilt, and what they're doing to make it all happen. Back to you guys.
Well, it was January when the LA wildfires scorched through neighborhoods, not only destroying homes, but changing lives altogether.
Today, KCAL News News is highlighting the progress, the community's strength, and the emotions first felt at the start of the wildfires that continue today. Let's get back to our Amanda Sarantino joining us live in Altadena with the story of the Williams family. Amanda, good morning.
Good morning, Kalina and Chris. So actually, I was just talking with Tilly. This was her property. It still is her property. She's going to be coming back home. She is one of several family members here that lost their homes in the Eaton Fires 6 months ago. What does this community mean to you, Tilly?
It means a lot. All my kids grew up here in this house. And I've been here for 53 years, so it's really hard to try to find someplace else.
This is it. This is home.
This is home, yes.
And let's walk up. We're going to walk up. This was your stairway right here, and we're walking up to now. Your lot has been cleared. We see the Army Corps of Engineers has gone through, but you've been battling some red tape, and just one of those is just become a victim of just so many other factors that have happened here. You're just telling me about what's going on with AT&T.
Right, yes. They keep billing and asking for their equipment, which I told them
is not here.
That they know the house has been burned down and everything in it was burned, but they still. And then the other day they finally sent me a final bill. I'm going, a bill for what? And so we're just having to deal with that, and that just keeps bringing stuff back up, but we'll endure.
And you definitely have. So if my photographer, Armando, you can turn around, you can see her lot is now cleared here. The plan is to rebuild. Her daughter was right around the corner. We just talked to Michelle. Tilly, why is it so important for you to come back here?
Well, this is where I've been. I've been in California since I was 13, and this was the home we bought. And
raise your family and everything.
Yes, everything. So we know this area. We know the neighbors. They're really nice. And, you know, we don't have to worry about people.
And Tilly, what are some of the challenges that you've been facing? It's been 6 months. It looks like a lot of progress has been made so far. It probably doesn't feel like fast enough for you. What challenges are you facing to get home?
We know permits. We don't know whether they're going to make permits exempt or what. If we do, that's a lot of money. We have to come up with, we need to check the soil to make sure it's okay. And just things that you're normally used to and having, you just don't have anymore.
I mean, to figure out the whole process of what to do, people don't know automatically of what to do in this kind of situation. How have you been able to navigate it?
My daughters.
The whole family standing back there. That's everybody over there.
Yep, because I get a lot of calls, and a lot of it could be scams and stuff, but I pass the calls on to them, and they screen them and stuff. Okay. And a lot of people don't have that, which is not good, but.
Well, you're going to be coming home. We're seeing the Altadena not for sale sign all over the place. Why are you coming back to Altadena and not going anywhere else?
I like Altadena. Yeah, I like Altadena because it's a small place, but it's, you know, everybody and how to get to everything.
It's your community.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so special. And this is Tilly Williams, just one of many, many stories here of resilience and strength. And thank you for sharing it with us. We're going to hear more from her daughters and the rest of the family around here. They've been so strong through all of this and so powerful. Jamie, you have plenty of stories out there in the Palisades as well. What's going on over there?
Yeah, some of them are similar, some of them different of what you're hearing. Amanda, I love to hear her optimism and strength there. I'm with Kevin Mines, who's the homeowner who was able to save his home right here in the Palisades. It was quite the firefight.
Yeah, it was. It was a long night, longest night and day of my life.
Let's talk about it. You said you were able to see the fire kind of start coming over the hill. How did you immediately jump into action?
Well, basically, I got a call from a buddy. There's a fire. I went up to check it out, and we watched it. And when it rolled over the hill and started coming toward us, we kind of needed to do something. I had a plan.
You had a plan?
Yeah. I'd been through this before in '78 with my dad. I've lived here all my life.
And you remember that fire really vividly?
Absolutely, yeah. And it helped me to formulate the plan. First thing was to get Andrea and Max off the hill to safety.
That's your wife?
That's correct. My son.
And your son, yes.
Yes. Then I could focus on fighting the fire. And I took my socks out of my sock drawer and I stuffed them down downspouts, and I backwashed the pool water up on the roof and had about 3 inches of water on the roof, so I wouldn't have to worry about the roof. And then I had a bunch of 5-gallon paint buckets, placed them around the house, and it was kind of whack-a-mole, just fighting spot fires from that point on.
And you had somebody stop by who ended up helping
My
you.
guardian angel, Yuri Gurvich.
Had you ever known Uri before?
He came out of nowhere. We met that night, and that kid came and asked if he could help. I handed him a bucket, and we just put out spot fires all day long until kind of the afternoon when Station 69, Jeff Brown's crew, showed up, and they started kind of doing their thing. We still had water at that point. And Yuri and I took me, and we went back through the house and we looked out on the Palisades because up until that point we thought we had kind of stopped the fire.
Right.
We hadn't stopped anything.
No, we were able to see, you know, your street, your neighbors did okay. You were all fighting your own fire.
My neighbor Chuck and Alex, they were fighting to my left, and then 69 covered us to my right. And so we held a line here, but boy, you know, when we looked out over the deck and saw the town burning, my hometown, I spent the rest of the night watching my hometown burn down.
But that's, you want to stay here, and we showed people the inside is not inhabitable right now, but you're going to fight to stay here.
You know, my dad built this house. My mom passed away while living here. I grew up, I spent the last 30 years of my life here.
You love the community here?
I love the community here. I'm class of 79 Pali, my son class of 22. We're Palisadians.
Well, I think what I've loved throughout the community is seeing so many signs of how strong the Palisades is and the community wanting to come back. So, Kevin, thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you sharing your story. Chris and Kalina, back to you.
Yeah, you definitely could see and hear the pride in his voice and all the history that comes with it.
All the hope, too.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jamie. And also, be sure to stay with us as we bring you more of these stories throughout the morning.
We've been through a lot, and it's the smart thing and the right thing to put on a good face and to talk positively, because that's what we've got to do. And at this other time, in the other way, we have to agree that it sucks. That it sucks. But we will rebuild, and we are resilient, and we are Pacific Palisades.
Aww.
And that is the reality of it. But actor Steve Gutenberg is spreading positive energy on social media to the Palisades community. He was very active in helping neighbors get to safety during the fire.
And he joins us live right now from New York to talk about the recovery effort 6 months later. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. And I'm so glad that the first thing we're not talking about is there is a fire. We're saying there was a fire.
Yes.
And we're gonna rebuild, and we're resilient. But yeah, it really does suck that the town is gone and the Altadena people are struggling with that, and so many people are displaced. But this is the time that tests us, right? In biblical terms, this is the time that we have to rise up, come together, and be strong and know that everything is going to be okay.
And we love your positive energy. I do want to walk back to when that fire happened in your neighborhood. You were clearing out vehicles to get out of the way so emergency crews could just go ahead and get through. You and your neighbors, you stayed in the Palisades for several days after those fires to help put out the spot fires there. You didn't have any electricity. Can you describe what it was like helping people in your community then and what you've been doing now?
Well, that first photo you saw where the big plume of smoke was there, I was having a cup of coffee and I saw that, and I didn't know what it was. So I drove toward my house, and there was bumper-to-bumper traffic on Sunset, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Palisades Drive. And I saw that the fire was coming, and the police and emergency and the fire people told everybody to abandon their cars because the fire was coming. So everybody abandoned their cars, and I I don't know why, I just thought I've got to start moving cars. So I started moving cars out of the way so emergency vehicles could get through and get up to the highlands and get to that fire. And then, you know, my dad used to say, run toward the danger if you're able and run away if you're not. Well, I was able, and I stayed for 7 days. Now, I don't know how smart that was because I had a cough and pulmonary issues for about 100 days after that. I stayed, and I think me and a few other of my neighbors saved a lot of homes in the Palisades and maybe a lot of family feelings and futures. So, but I'm not the only one that was working there. There were so many people working for the community and everybody working in Altadena. But it was a very tough 7 days. We had electricity, but we had no gas, so there was no heat, and we had no water because by the first day, all the water was gone. The reservoirs were empty. So we had to use pool water, and that's what the fire department used, as well as using water trucks to fill up their 500-gallon fire trucks.
Yeah, and
I
Steve,
got to tell you something, the fire people and the emergency people, the police were fantastic, and so were you, all the people in the media and in the news business, bringing food up to us. It was a pretty fantastic how we all came together.
I mean, we absolutely did come together, and I love how your father said run toward the danger if you're able to, and that's something where we see whenever natural disasters happen all over the country, all over the world. But talking a little bit about you, you're now bi-coastal. You live in New York, but you travel to LA, obviously, and thankfully you still have your home, but at this point, you can't live in it. I mean, tell us a little bit about your recovery and what's happening in your community.
Well, I'm not the only one I have plenty of friends who lost their homes in a total loss. And that's just beyond tragic. There's no words. And I have a house, but it's going to take about a year to remediate and to make it whole again. And I'm not alone. So many other people have that issue. And it's a tough time. The insurance companies have been terrific. Allstate and State Farm and Chubb and Pure and AIG. All the companies that are working have been terrific and doing with their best because it's really a tough situation. Then everybody's negotiating. And I got to tell you, all these public adjusters we have who help us with the insurance companies, that's a really big deal. And we've got to support these public adjusters. But it's a tough time, and there's no disguising it. This is the time that tries our souls. So we've got to come together, and we've got to be able to bitch a little bit too. You know, we've got to be able to complain because it is a tough time, and it's not easy being displaced and living in other places, and kids going to different schools, and so many of our schools have burned down, and so many of our churches and our temples have been destroyed. So it's a tough time. But as I said, we've got to look up. We've got to hold on to each other. And I got to tell you something interesting. When it's tough times like this, people get a little nicer actually.
We need more of that.
Yep, and I hope that it lasts because we've got to help each other. We've got to be really nice and kind and good to each other and see what we can do because not only physically, but as you know, emotionally, we've got to take care of each other. We've got to hold each other. We've got to be a little more patient when we talk to each other. I'm not telling you anything, you know, I'm sure you've discussed on your program too. Psychologically, we've really got to be soft to each other and love each other and invite each other, you know.
Well, Steve, we ran out of time already, but we appreciate your words of wisdom. You know, we both looked at your social media. We know you're full of positive energy, which I'm sure is something that people are turning to right now and have been turning to for years to see. So we appreciate your time so much, and we wish you the best in your recovery efforts as well.
Thanks for having me on, and I always watch your show. You two are great, and everybody on your staff and your crew and your program, your station and your platform, you're terrific. Thanks for being so great and so wonderful.
Thank you so much. And we're fans of yours too. We love all your movies.
And that is your Monday morning TED Talk. Thanks, Steve.
Have a great one.
And we want to let you know that here at KCAL News, we've made it a point to stay in touch with people who were affected by the wildfires back in January.
And as we reach the 6-month mark, we are checking in with some of those residents as they continue to deal with the tragedy. I want to get back out to KCAL News anchor Jamie Ucas, out live in the Pacific Palisades with the latest chapter in a fire survivor story. Jamie, good morning.
Good morning. There are so many stories out here. I even know for myself, I was here just a few days after the fire went through the Palisades. I then was able to return 3 months later, and now being here 6 months later, there is hope. There is rebuilding happening. There are positives, but there are also so many emotions for so many people. It's been somewhat of a roller coaster for many. Rena Nakano introduces us to one man who's had a very emotional journey.
It's been 6 months since Rob Hoover's life changed forever.
I was sitting right here.
We first met the now 52-year-old on January 8th, while his 3-bedroom home on Jacone Way in Pacific Palisades was still burning.
I don't understand how this could happen here.
He was visibly shaken after spending hours biking up the hill, praying he'd find an heirloom, anything to take back to his daughter.
All of her stuff from when she was born is just gone. I mean, I came back to see if I could get a tool or something out of here. Nothing.
In the last 6 months, half his property has been cleared.
This is what the Army Corps of Engineers did.
Walking up to what was the front door, he takes a moment to absorb it all.
Oh, well.
Noticing the Christmas lights somehow survived, but nothing else.
So many of these old ornaments from my great-great-grandparents.
As we spend more time on his empty lot, his emotions come out.
Anger, I guess.
Yes, the winds were strong and he knew the risks, but he asked, why didn't he see any help?
Not one truck, not one fireman up my street and up Enchanted, not one. I mean, that's ridiculous. Come on.
His temporary home now is a 40-minute drive south. It's a small furnished apartment costing almost 3 times his monthly mortgage. But their dog, Oakley, wasn't welcome.
Finding a place that accepts pets really narrows it down.
Oakley is staying at Hoover's parents' home while they rebuild their lives. But he says their to-do list is seemingly endless.
Getting our lot cleared, getting it tested by the EPA, getting your mail forwarded, getting school figured out.
He still has to pay his property tax.
There's no dwelling, we still have to pay for the land.
And then there's the battle with the home insurance company. He says they've completely lost his trust.
The fact that we're getting nickeled and dimed, it's unacceptable.
Hoover puts on a brave face for his now 13-year-old daughter, who he says is taking this surprisingly well. Desperate to find a sense of normalcy, he searched for her very first stuffed animal.
So we're actually looking for strollers, and I saw this, and so I ended up buying it for her. And they don't make it anymore, so I found it on eBay so that she could have something to remember.
Hoover says some days the reality is too hard to bear, and it's difficult to look ahead into the future.
I mention his grown-out beard.
Oh.
Which he says he hasn't shaved since the fire.
Something I can hide behind.
From what?
From you. From everything.
Many of his neighbors have had to sell their land. Hoover hopes to rebuild, but wonders if it's even worth it.
Best case scenario, we would have to live somewhere else for 4 years. Then my daughter's out of high school, so what's the point?
If this calamity has taught him anything, he says it's to trust your gut, be proactive, and love your family.
Give yourself 15 minutes. Go find, I get the chills, go find everything that means something to you and make sure you know where it's at. If you can put it all together in one place, that's great. Because when the time comes and you have to leave and you don't have time to go and get the stuff, you're gonna regret it, believe me. Number 2 is take care of your children, because this is really hard. It's hard on me and it's gotta be hard on them.
Great advice there at the end. It gives me chills that he's having to relive that and think about that. But tell me how you think he's doing, because it seems like such an emotional roller coaster he's been on.
Absolutely. So the first time I met him, his house was burning. We were going up Jacone Way, and I just saw this guy on a bicycle. I couldn't believe that he had come up this hill.
He was probably going to check on his house.
He was, to find nothing, right? He's sitting down there. I didn't think it was appropriate for me to go talk to him right away, so I kind of gave him his space. A few minutes later, we kind of locked eyes, started talking. I asked him if it was okay to roll. He said yes. So he told me basically what had happened. He tried to save it, couldn't. Nothing there. And then a couple months later, he contacted me via text.
Which happens with journalists, right? We exchange numbers.
We love to do that. We love to check in with our people and, check up on them.
Right.
Especially after a story like this.
Yes.
He said he was just so tired of the insurance. He doesn't know what to do. He's lost. And so I told him about the phone bank that Christine Lazar did.
The insurance bank, yeah.
Exactly. And I thought that was a great resource. But after that, I asked him, hey, can we do a 6-month follow-up on everything that you're going through? And that's when the emotions really, really hit us. We went to his home. First thing was, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this happened. It's still happening. I'm still in this, to anger as to why they couldn't help me. Why did my house have to burn down? To thanking his wife and his daughter for being so supportive. To I'm still not super hopeful, but I do want people to know this is how I'm feeling, and I don't want other people to feel this way, which is the advice that came at the end.
Well, I think it's so important to recognize too that he is sharing these emotions that are very, very normal. You know, I was talking to a psychologist recently who said here in Los Angeles specifically, she's seeing such high rates of anxiety and depression right now. So the more we can do for others and listen to their stories and share their stories, I think the better. So thank you for telling his story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rena, thank you. And Chris and Kalina, back to you guys in the studio.
Yeah, the power of listening, the power of sharing, so powerful. Thank you, too.
And today marks a very important milestone in the continued recovery after January's devastating wildfires. It's hard to believe, but it's been 6 months since homes, schools, and businesses were reduced to rubble and ash.
Yeah, but it was following that destruction that these SoCal communities came together. It was an effort to rebuild, recover, and move forward. And those efforts, they're continuing today as locals, they look ahead to starting over and, you know, building bigger, better, and stronger.
And we do have continuing team coverage for you at this hour. KCAL News anchor Jamie Ucas is standing by in the Pacific Palisades, and she'll bring us more about the ongoing recovery there. We've heard some incredible stories of just focus and community and just resiliency there. But first, we do want to say hello to KCAL News reporter Amanda Sarantino, joining us live right now in Altadena with more in that area this morning on this recovery process. Amanda?
Good morning, Kalina and Chris. The recovery process continues to move forward, and that's what these people in this community are doing. It's Altadena strong, and they are being strong together. We know this property, I was told by residents in this neighborhood, this family actually just bought the property. The neighbors had only seen them about once or twice before, obviously, the fire tore through. We can see a swing hanging from the tree over there, and I'm sure they were planning on having lots of memories there, but that swing somehow made it through. And walking through the neighborhood this morning, we're seeing the lots. They've all been cleared from the Army Corps of Engineers for the most part. So a lot of progress has been made here, but there's a lot of steps to move forward. I'm going to be talking to the Williams family in just a minute. They had 4 homes right here burned down in this community, and just their story of resilience and how they're getting through this, all in their own way, too. It's very interesting. But Jamie, first I want to hear from you of what's going on in the Palisades.
Well, Amanda, we've moved down to one of the business areas of the Palisades, and I have a scene on this street that is just pretty much tells the story of what it's like in the Palisades right now. You have one business that is destroyed. You can see has not been cleared on this lot yet. You have another business, this brick business, that is fine. It's standing and didn't have any damage to it at all. Still has some function with it. But then you go down here, and this pizza place, Flower Pizza, is gone. They've been able to clear the lot. They're starting to try to get things going here, as well as the business next door. And we're going to talk to the owner of Flower Pizza about how that's going and how he has had a pivot in some ways. It's actually nice to hear that loud construction a little bit, to see things getting back to normal, but there are some pivots that still do need to be made. Chris and Kalina, back to you.
All right, Jamie, thank you. And there are so many more stories of strength and survival. That's been the theme pretty much for today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've been talking about Amanda Sarantino being in Altadena. She's got other stories of resilience during this rebuilding process. You know, we talked to Jamie earlier today, and she says, you know, the production and the construction has slowed down a little bit in the past few weeks because of what we've been seeing from an immigration level. How are things going there when it comes to rebuilding and the people there?
Well, they are moving forward. They all have plans to rebuild, at least with the family that I'm talking to here. We look around in this neighborhood right here. We're on Palm Street, where most of the homes are now gone, but some progress has been made. We're seeing all the rubble. It's been picked up, which is great to see, because when you saw those piles and piles just on everyone's property, you thought, how do you go anywhere from this point? Well, we have gone somewhere, and now the properties are looking like this one right behind me. So this is one of the Williams family homes. We've been talking to them all morning long. They actually had 4 homes right in this pocket of this Altadena community, right here in Janes Village, a historically black community. You guys have been here for decades now, and actually this specific property, this is where you lived with your wife, Kim. This is Corey, and unfortunately, you guys just remodeled and then you moved in. I mean, what's the plan now?
To rebuild, to come back and help everybody rebuild. Yeah, we're ready to start breaking ground and getting back to living.
Yeah, and they do all plan on coming back. But this property, it was your grandmother's. So what does it mean to you to make sure that this specific property comes back?
It was our hub. So again, it will be that. Where we were able to be loved on and love so many from this very place. So she used to talk about us throwing away her things, and now she gets to have all new things, by way of us and by way of a fire. I understand that it's really, really difficult, but we are looking at the brighter side and blessed that we will have the opportunity to rebuild.
Absolutely. So Mom is sitting over on the corner in some shade right now. She lives right around the corner as well. It's toasty out here today. And each one of them have their own route that they're taking. You guys just remodeled. You need to come back. You were a renter. Now you're going to be owning the property, which has been an amazing story right there. You're 6 months away from starting to build, which is huge. And what does that process look like?
Oh, it's been slow and go, but now we're at the part where we have plans being made and we can see the future, so it's really exciting. Just trying to turn that negative into a positive and know that this is a part of our legacy that now we get to pass on to our kids. So it's exciting.
And what we were saying, you're getting emotional right now. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so you were saying it looks bad, but it's better.
Yes, it's better. It was really hard to see in the beginning and coming back and forth. But now when you look around, even though it's cleared out, it's better.
Do you guys think enough has been done by state legislators, your local officials, to make sure this process is moving forward? We know there's a lot of red tape. Insurance has been extremely difficult. Your mom was saying State Farm hasn't been in a battle with her, making claims that she say are not true. What have you guys been dealing with, and do you think enough has been done?
I think as we have gone through this process, we have really been blessed about how far it's gone and how fast it's moved, but there are so many that still are not in a position where we are. So we are one of many that continue to fight on, continuing to go through some red tape with FEMA, making sure that rental assistance can be made and offered, and just really getting the support that we need. So we were really grateful for Catherine Barger and everything that she's been able to do in terms of, kind of waiving some of those fees, to make sure that we can get the permitting done and rebuild as fast as possible.
Yeah, I mean, in 6 months, you're going to be starting the building process, but have you seen anything slow down, or has it been going pretty much up to speed like you'd expect?
Parts of it, are still very confusing. There's been a lot of changes. So from the beginning, when the process first started, people were kind of just trying to find their way. So some of the demands and some of the legislation has changed. But, I mean, the main thing is you just have to stay tapped in, because you want to make sure that as you're going forward, you're checking all those boxes, because, like I said, it's ever changing, so, I mean, we're just doing our best to stay aligned and get where we need to be, and, stay in touch, and hope people can look at us and contact us to say, hey, we're going through this process, so what did you all do?
Using your neighbors and your community members as resources. Absolutely. So, again, this is the Williams family, big part of Altadena. A lot of people know them, love them, their story. They're just an example of people being strong through all of this. It's just absolutely incredible what you guys have been through. We have Rick Montanez standing by with another community story. Rick.
Yeah, Amanda, good morning. We are here on Lincoln Avenue outside of Good Neighbor Bar, where there's a gathering here, a commemoration to mark that 6 months since the Eaton fire. And of course, this is not a day that people really wanted to ever have to keep track of, but here we are. And we want to point out this striking map here at Good Neighbor Bar. Again, this is Lincoln Avenue and Alberta Street, so you might have seen it, but it points out and maps out every single property here that was damaged or destroyed by the Eaton fire. And inside Good Neighbor Bar, they're having a gathering that starts from 9 until noon. And there's also a news conference that's going to begin in an hour, and that is by the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. And they're going to be talking about their frustrations with everything because they say they've been struggling with insurance companies, that they're not getting paid what they are owed for the damages, the rebuilding, remediation, cleanup, and repairs. People are also set up to write postcards to the governor's office, to the insurance commissioner, to express their concerns.
The big difference between whether or not people are doing okay is whether their insurance companies are paying out what they are owed. And so this event today is one about getting back together, being there to support one another, being in community. But it's also saying insurance companies need to be held accountable.
And so she's the co-founder of the Extreme Weather Survivors Network, one of several organizations that work around the country that are helping the local organization, the Eaton Fire Survivors Network. And again, you see the people who are gathered here. They want to have this as a place to be in community with one another, but also to support each other, help each other out. So that is why they are writing those postcards to our elected officials. And I want to point out one more thing, that they are holding similar events like this in places like Tennessee and Colorado today to acknowledge that the people here in Altadena, the situation they are facing is not unique to Southern California. The insurance battles are something that people across the country are dealing with. So a lot still happening today, and it's just showing how one community is more than just the people who live in your neighborhood. Live in Altadena, Rick Montanez, KCAL News.
Absolutely, and getting people together like that is so important for that community strength, but also to have those conversations, because you never know what you're going through will help the next person, who then is able to help the next person. So there's a lot just in that one type of event there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And our team coverage continues. Right now, it has been 6 months since the deadly and devastating Eaton and Palisades fires. And we have our Amanda Sarantino in Altadena with a look at the Eaton fire recovery there. But first, we begin with KCAL News anchor Jamie Ucas, who is live in the Palisades with stories of hope as the community there continues to rebuild as well. Jamie?
Good morning, Kalina. Yeah, I think what really struck me just a few moments ago as we walked over here and I asked one of the business owners what used to be here. And they said, oh, a boba shop and a Pilates studio. And you think about that, just the everyday little pieces of a community that now are no longer here. And they haven't even started the clearing out process. But luckily, just down the street, they are starting to move and groove, getting things going, trying to get things rebuilt, like that Taekwondo studio and also that pizza shop that you see there. We will be talking to the owner of that in just a little bit, and how this whole experience has had him pivot. He not only lost his restaurant, but also his house. So we'll be speaking with him in just a few minutes. But first, let's turn it over to Amanda Sarantino at the Eaton Fire Zone. Amanda?
Jamie, I think what's crazy to think is this time 6 months ago, all these homes were still here. And I remember coming through just 24 hours later and seeing all these homes just in flames and watching these people's lives and their memories and their history here in these communities just go up with all of the flames and become ashes and rubble. But what we've seen in 6 months is a lot of that rubble being taken away and these lots being cleared, like these ones here. These families trying to move forward. What we noticed, we're not seeing a lot of for sale signs. We're seeing a lot of people wanting to come home. And that's what these people are doing. And that's where these stories of hope are coming through. We're seeing the vegetation come back. We're seeing some foundations start to be built, which is so great to see in just this short period of time. But obviously people are still hitting this red tape. But the family that just came out here, I was watching them as they were walking back on their properties. They lost 4 homes right here just in their family. And the way I saw their faces today was the same reactions that I saw from people when they were coming back to their properties when the fire just came through. And it's just hard to grasp, you know, this was your home, this was your life, and now it looks completely different. So these families continue to move forward. We are moving forward with you with those resources and with those stories to keep Altadena strong. Coming up, we're going to hear from one of those voices, our very own Cara Finstrom, of her process to also get back home to Altadena. We'll have that powerful story coming up in just a few minutes on KCAL. For now, back to you guys.
It has been a grueling 6 months for many fire victims in the Palisades, with many left at a loss on how, when, and if they can even rebuild. I want to head back out to KCAL News anchor Jamie Ucas with more on this. Jamie?
Kalina, good morning. I'm with Robert Flutie this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for coming.
I want to tell people you're the owner of Flower Pizza,
Yes.
but you lost your business. You also lost your home.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what the last 6 months have been like?
Well, the last 6 months have been actually amazing for us. There's been such an incredible outpouring of support and love. So many people have risen to the occasion to assist us in getting back on our feet, from everybody from PR agencies to companies that are giving us grants to the local neighborhood people. It's actually been an incredible expression of love for us.
So you're optimistic. The community's coming back. The business is coming back.
Yeah,
Your home's
100%.
coming back.
Everything's coming back. I mean, I think at this stage we've all settled into the new normal, embraced the reality of what's happened, and have all decided to look forward to a better future. And you're feeling it amongst all the people that are from our community and who are surrounding us at this point.
Well, we've given your construction workers a little bit of a break, but you
Yeah.
are rebuilding the pizza restaurant, but you had to make a little pivot too. You're also in Brentwood.
Yeah, we were opening Brentwood as our second location as part of an expansion.
So that was already
and
planned.
It was planned, but we were not going to open until about this time. So we really put the hardcore press on it and opened it up about 6 months sooner because we wanted to be able to get back into business as quickly as possible.
And now you're trying to get this one back up.
We're going to
running.
come back into the Palisades. You know, this is an amazing location. It's across the street from the elementary school. And there's a lot of other locations that people have reached out to us to consider. And so we're currently in the process of evaluating where our next home in the Palisades will be.
Well, I heard the Brentwood location is going great. You even got some great review from national outlets.
Yeah, you know, Dave Portnoy came in, gave us, you know, Best Pizza in LA review, gave us a whopping 8.1 score, and since then it's been amazing. Our business is up about 200%. People who are coming as far away as Rancho Cucamonga and Pasadena, La Cañada have come to experience it, and dare I say, you know, from all bad things, some good will come.
I think that's such an important message because I do think the 6-month mark for people psychologically can go one of two ways. You can either start wallowing, you know, in what has happened,
Yeah.
and that's okay, you know, but you eventually have to get out of that, right?
Yeah.
Or you can look at some of the positives that have happened, like you, and it seems that I'm hearing that from so many people in this community. Is that something special, you think, to the Palisades area?
Yeah, I think that there's an incredible resilience in the Palisades community. We're each lifting each other up. You know, whenever there's a tough time, we sit, we talk about it. You know, you have to process this on the human level. But on a higher level, you know, you have to see that there's an opportunity for something better to come into your life, and if you embrace that, it's really an amazing experience.
Can I bottle that optimism and start selling it?
Sure, as long as you give me 10%.
Okay, no problem. I think there'd be a lot of takers,
Yeah.
actually, this day and age. Talk a little bit about what you have seen from other businesses. You know, I look down here, there's still a lot of rubble along this street, and a lot of businesses not in the same position that you're in right now.
Yeah, it's surreal to come through a neighborhood where I've lived for 21 years and see, you know, the continued effects of the fire. But where a lot of people are seeing rubble, I'm seeing opportunity, you know. So when I was in India when this occurred.
Oh, wow.
And I wanted to get back on a plane and come back, and the person who I was with, who's a spiritual counselor, said, sometimes it's better to sit and observe. And in India, they believe fire is the pathway to new beginnings and to creating a new fertile ground. So something that has to rise up from the ashes, you know, obviously has to burn down first. So, yeah, but I don't want to dismiss the fact that a lot of business owners have had some challenging times getting back up on their feet, whether it's because of the finances, insurance companies have been slow, the landlords maybe have been a little bit slow on the uptake. You know, we're speaking to those people and trying to do what we can to support them in the same way that we were supported by the community.
Do you have advice for them?
Tenacity, resilience, and just an incredible sense of optimism. If you really see and envision that it's going to come back to life for you, it will, and being able to be tenacious is definitely a skill that you can develop right now.
It is a skill, that
Yeah.
is for sure. Talk a little bit about, though, you also lost your house.
Yeah.
That has to be a little bit different than losing the business.
Yes, it was, and also, you know, it was my children's childhood home. We lived there for 21 years, a lot of amazing memories. But, you know, what I said to my kids is, who are we that we're immune from tragedy? You know, so many people have lost so much. We've lost our church, we've lost our kids' best friends' homes, we've lost our business. And I don't even like to say lost, it's been transformed, right?
Okay, all right.
And there's certainly a lot of emotion that goes beyond the reality that everything that we experienced for 21 years is now no longer there. But it's also an opportunity to create new memories and to come back and, you know, make that new life for ourselves.
Well, I'm so glad I got to talk to you today because you've uplifted me. I do think we as a society can get so bogged down, and the news cycle is so quick to move on to the next tragedy. It's important to remember that there are bright spots all around us.
Well, tragedy is happening all around us, and I think whenever you go through a cycle of something like we did or what's happened in Texas, you have a moment to grieve and mourn and then come back to figuring out how you're going to pick yourself up and move forward.
Well, thank you so much, Robert. Really appreciate you being with us this morning.
You.
And I can't wait to check out the pizza in Brentwood at Flower Pizza.
Yeah, please come.
I'll be stopping in soon.
Pizza's love.
All right, pizza's love. Amanda, we want to head over to you and the Eaton Fire Zone. I hope you're finding a little bit of optimism there, too, this morning.
There's plenty of it. And what I'm hearing from the families that I spoke to this morning is, yeah, you do have to grieve and you have to go through the process like the person you were just speaking with said, but you have to move forward as well. And that's what we're seeing happening here in this Eaton Fire community. I mean, look right here, we're at Palm Street. You can see the foothills here of just everything that the flames tore through. And we see all these homes in different stages of the rebuilding process. And some of those stages isn't a rebuild, it's just trying to come back home, and that's what our own Cara Finstrom is dealing with. You still have your home, it's in this community, but you haven't been able to go home yet. So where are you guys at?
So we're about 4 miles to the east of here. We're extremely fortunate that our house was spared. It's still standing, but we, like so many others in our neighborhood, have a lot of soot and ash inside. I did share some pictures that we can show the folks at home, and it took 4 months just to get the results back. We, in our particular case, have high levels of lead in the home. So you can clean up what you're seeing. That's the visible results, but the lead has seeped into the cracks between our 1920s floors. You know, it's in the insulation that has to be pulled out. There have been a lot of challenges along the way getting that cleaned up, but we just started last week with the actual cleaning process. So seeing some hope there and really wanting to get back to our community. It's tough to see, you know, block after block that is gone, but we've also seen just this tremendous sense of folks coming together, wanting to come back to their homes and wanting to bring back the uniqueness that is Altadena.
Yeah, and I feel like I keep asking you, are you home yet? Are you home yet? And it's just, this is the hard part for so many people of just trying to get through all the red tape and the challenges and also just the safety concerns as well. And there's the people who want to get back home, but there's the people who are helping to make that happen and to help protect this community. And as a reporter, you've been following along with the firefighters, some of the challenges they've been facing and some of the health concerns as well. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, Pasadena's firefighters, they were out there for 36 hours straight, you know, in the worst of the conditions, breathing it in. And right afterwards, when we spoke with them, what we found out was some of them were nauseous, couldn't keep food down, had respiratory issues. They've started getting some different types of treatments. Pasadena Fire has been very progressive in offering a wide range of testing to their firefighters, and some of that has come back, and we are tracking that along with them. There are no clear answers because this is kind of unprecedented. They also didn't have the type of equipment that you would need for fighting really what is a fire that started in our hills and moved into an urban situation. So the
amount different round of chemicals and toxins.
Yes. So it's really unprecedented. They're going to be tracking it for many years, and it's something we'll be following along. Also, at the same time, encouraging folks who live in Altadena, who have been impacted, to take advantage of having your soil tested. I'm doing it for my home. Also having those blood tests done if you think that you may have any, lasting health results. That is free. We've put up links on our website so that folks can take advantage of those things.
And through blood tests, you can find out all this information too.
Yeah, you can find out a bit of information. If you think that you may have been exposed to lead, if you have any concerns, if you have children in particular, that's really the number one concern because of the exposures they can experience.
And I think when it comes to also testing your soil and making sure that the properties are safe, we've done multiple stories on it of just different community organizations coming together, posting online. You could see how much is at your neighbor's house, and all that information is out there and accessible. Have you been able to use any of that yourself?
I am just in the process. It's funny, we lost our vet, we lost our doctor, some medical records. There's a lot of different steps, and again, we're very fortunate, but there's a lot of different steps, things to take care of. We've moved 4 times with our belongings that we've kind of started to put back together and things that people have given to us. So we've just now gotten to the process. My son and I went to the house the other day and we gathered those soil samples. So we also are curious and are going to have that done.
And I think a big part is just being curious yourself and also being a self-starter in this process, because a lot of people have been saying, I've just had to figure out for myself, using the people with me, no one's really going to just hand it to you. So, and that's what you've been having to do. Through all of this, though, there's been these little moments of hope, these stories that just shine, and I know this one stuck with both of us. An artist bringing color to everything that's happened.
Yeah, Kenny Arts. I actually started following him before the fire because he's captured more scenes of Altadena and Pasadena, which again is my home, than any other artist. Just whimsically capturing them in watercolor. And when the fires hit, I realized that he would be devastated. He lost his home. He lost many of his family's homes and properties, and he lost much of that art. But what he did was he started going out and recording what was left. And for me, I took my children through. They fled with me the night of the fire. They're both in college, but I wanted them to see what Altadena looked like before everything was gone. Kind of the remnants still standing. I kind of liken it to losing someone to cancer or a disease where you can still see them and you still recognize them, and then it's all gone. And so he captured that. He captured kind of what was left of Altadena, recorded it as history, and has just really brought a lot of hope. You know, he has his exhibit now at CAM, the California African American Museum. It's there through October, so go see it if you can. It's amazing.
It is amazing, and what you've been doing and the reporting you've been doing has been absolutely incredible with everything that you've experienced as well. So just all these different stories coming together, which is now a huge part of our history here in our Los Angeles community. Back to you guys.
You guys have been both very incredible. Amanda and Cara, thank you so much. 6 months ago, the devastating fire in Altadena left Donnie Kinsey's family home in ruins. And Lori Perez spotted him amongst the rubble, brought to tears by the destruction. She caught up with Donnie to see how his life has transformed since the fire.
It's hard coming up here. It's hard seeing what used to be here. It was easier when I could actually see like burned things, but now that everything is gone, it really hurts.
For Donnie Kinsey, it's the absence that echoes, the leveled landscape making the neighborhood he's known all his life in some ways unfamiliar.
There was a tree line there. There were houses up there.
6 months after the Eaton fire burned the family home he shared with his sister.
Yeah, I had a garage here. There's another 2-car garage.
And took their childhood home where their parents still lived just a mile away.
This was all my parents' hard work.
His grief seems to grow with every memory.
Most of my issues have been mental health issues. Financially, you know, it's crazy losing everything and having all of your finances stay the same. You know, like your job's there, your bank account's still there, it didn't burn up, you know, so it's not like you lost everything, but it's little things like my little red wagon from when I was, you know, a kid coming down this driveway, or all of my artwork. Like that part really hurt.
An artist and grade school teacher, Kinsey put his life on the line to save his family's legacy. 2 homes, 4 generations raised here, one of the few places where black families could buy houses in the redlined Los Angeles of the 1950s. For hours, he was a one-man fire company fighting to save history from an inferno.
I mean, how often do you replay that night when you were trying to save it?
Every night. Every night I think about it, and it just doesn't go away. I feel really guilty, you know, because I feel like I didn't save anything. I just know that if anything like that ever happened to me, or if I had to give some advice to anyone, I'd tell them just do it. Just get in the house and get everything out at any threat of fire, just because, you know, an hour or 2 of hard work, you know, in either direction is something that will save you that feeling of guilt and defeat.
But with each day, remorse is matched by resolve to move past the pain that, like the flames did, threatens to consume him. His family is among the fortunate ones who can and will rebuild, while others lack the insurance, the capital, or even the will to stay through a long, expensive recovery.
It's sad to think that this place will change, but it will. It's never going to look the same. Our neighbors are all going to be different, and there's no blame there. There's no, you know, hard feelings for people leaving. Since this was a family home, a generational home, I feel a duty to take care of this property, my sister as well, and make sure that, you know, future generations of my family are able to benefit from this property.
What do you feel when you're standing here?
I feel comfortable. I feel like I'm at home. It still feels like home.
In Altadena, Lori Perez, KCAL News.